The silent breakthrough. The quantum observation chamber hummed with an otherworldly resonance as Dr. Sarah Chen adjusted the final settings on her dimensional resonance scanner. Deep beneath the Atacama Desert, in a facility known only to a select few humans, she was about to attempt something the galaxy's most advanced civilizations believed impossible. Final calibration complete, her colleague Dr. Marcus Wong announced, his voice steady despite the tension filling the room. Quantum matrix is stable at 7-dimensional variants. Sarah nodded, her eyes fixed on the swirling vortex of energy contained within the chamber's reinforced walls. After 15 years of work, countless failed attempts, and the constant ridicule of the galactic community, they were finally ready. In orbit above Earth, the Galactic Council's observation post maintained its routine surveillance of what they considered a backward Tier 3 civilization. Their sensors, sophisticated as they were, detected nothing unusual about the desert below. That was exactly as Sarah had intended. "Begin primary sequence," she commanded, her fingers dancing across the holographic interface. The chamber's resonance deepened, shifting through frequencies that made the air itself seem to twist. The Galactic Council had always assumed that humanity's understanding of dimensional physics was primitive. They watched Earth's public space program with amusement, occasionally offering patronizing guidance on basic 4-dimensional travel. Their representatives never missed an opportunity to remind humans of their place in the cosmic hierarchy. What they didn't know, what Sarah and her team had discovered, was that their entire approach to dimensional physics was fundamentally flawed. The aliens had spent millennia building ever more powerful engines to force their way through dimensional barriers. Humanity had found a different path. Quantum coherence at 90%, Marcus reported. No signs of dimensional instability. Sarah allowed herself a small smile. The aliens' arrogance had been their greatest gift to humanity. While they focused their observations on Earth's public space programs and visible research facilities, this hidden complex had worked undisturbed, pursuing theories that the galaxy's finest minds had dismissed as impossible. The chamber's center now held what appeared to be a perfect sphere of darkness, not the absence of light, but something deeper, a hole in reality itself. "Dr. Chen," called out Dr. Yuki Tanaka from her monitoring station, "we're detecting successful quantum entanglement across all 7-dimensional axes. It's working exactly as you predicted." The impossible sphere began to pulse with colors that had no names in any human language. Sarah's theory had been correct. The key to higher dimensional travel wasn't about forcing reality to bend, but about understanding how it naturally folded upon itself. "Begin test sequence alpha," Sarah ordered, her heart racing despite her calm exterior. A small probe, no larger than a tennis ball, floated toward the sphere. This would be the moment of truth. The probe disappeared into the darkness without a sound. On their monitors, data streamed in confirming what they had achieved. The probe wasn't just moving through space or time. It was traversing 7 distinct dimensions simultaneously, something the Galactic Council had declared theoretically impossible. "Probe maintaining stable quantum signature," Marcus announced, his professional demeanor finally cracking into a grin. Position confirmed in all target dimensional coordinates. Sarah released a breath she hadn't realized she'd been holding. "Initiate recall sequence." The probe reappeared, completely intact. With its return came the validation of everything they had worked for. Humanity hadn't just caught up to the galaxy's advanced civilizations, they had leapfrogged past them entirely. Admiral Helena Martinez stepped out of the observation room, where she had been watching the test in silence. Her uniform bore no insignia. This project was too secret even for official military recognition. "Dr. Chen," she said, her voice carrying the weight of authority, "I believe it's time to proceed with Phase 2. How soon can we scale this up to accommodate a vessel?" Sarah studied the data flooding her screens. 3 months, Admiral. We'll need to adjust the quantum matrices for mass compensation, but the fundamental principles are sound." The Admiral nodded. "The Council is holding their annual technology review in 4 months, I believe it's time we showed them exactly what humanity is capable of." She paused, allowing herself a rare smile. Though perhaps not everything we're capable of. Not yet. As the team began their preparations for scaling up the technology, Sarah took a moment to appreciate the irony. The Galactic Council's dismissal of humanity had given them the freedom to pursue this breakthrough. Their laughter had provided the perfect cover for humanity's greatest achievement. Soon, that laughter would stop, but by then, it would be too late for them to do anything about it. In the quantum observation chamber, the impossible sphere continued to pulse with its otherworldly light, a beacon of humanity's impending revelation to the galaxy. The real work was just beginning. Echoes of doubt. The Galactic Council's central observatory buzzed with unusual activity. Senior analyst Zexwoon, a crystalline being from the Andromeda arm, studied the readings with all 4 of his sensor arrays. Something was wrong with the fabric of space-time, but he couldn't determine what. Another anomaly detected in Sector 7. His assistant reported, her gelatinous form rippling with concern. That's the 12th one this week. Across the galaxy, sophisticated sensors were detecting impossible fluctuations in the dimensional boundaries. Ships traveling through well-established dimensional corridors reported strange distortions. The most advanced civilizations were quietly beginning to worry, though none would admit it publicly. Meanwhile, on Earth, the massive underground facility in the Atacama Desert had transformed. What was once a research center now hummed with the energy of a shipyard. In the main chamber, the prototype vessel, Quantum Dawn, took shape under Dr. Sarah Chin's careful supervision. Power coupling synchronization complete, Marcus announced from his station. The ship's quantum core pulsed with the same otherworldly colors as their original experiment, but now contained and controlled on a much larger scale. Sarah walked the length of the vessel, her hand trailing along its smooth hull. Unlike the garish, over-engineered ships of the advanced alien races, the Quantum Dawn was elegantly simple in appearance. Its true complexity lay in the dimensional folding technology integrated into every molecule of its structure. Dr. Chin, Admiral Martinez called from the observation deck. The Council's annual review committee will be arriving in 3 weeks. Are we ready? Sarah checked her tablet, reviewing the final test results. The ship is ready, Admiral. Though I'm more concerned about the dimensional disturbances our long-range sensors have been detecting. The Admiral's expression tightened. You think our experiments are causing them? No, Sarah shook her head. But I think they're a warning. The conventional approach to dimensional travel that the Council races use is starting to destabilize the fabric of reality. They're too proud to see it, but their brute force methods are creating cascade failures across the dimensional boundaries. High above Earth, the Council's observation post continued its routine monitoring. Their sensors registered only what humans wanted them to see: primitive attempts at 4-dimensional propulsion, clumsy experiments with quantum mechanics, and the occasional failed prototype. The observers had grown so accustomed to human inadequacy that they never questioned why their most sophisticated dimensional sensors occasionally glitched when scanning certain areas of the planet. In the facility's tactical center, Dr. Yuki Tanaka coordinated with military personnel to plan the revelation. "We'll need to be careful," she warned. "The Council races aren't just arrogant. They're afraid. They built their entire civilization on the assumption that they understand how the universe works. We're about to show them they're wrong." Sarah worked through the night, fine-tuning the Quantum Dawn systems. The ship represented more than just a technological breakthrough. It was humanity's proof that innovation didn't always mean following the established path. While the Council races had spent millennia trying to force their way through dimensional barriers, humanity had learned to dance with them. Final systems check complete, Marcus reported as dawn broke over the desert above. All quantum matrices are stable. 7-dimensional fold capability is nominal. The facility's massive doors began to open, revealing the underground launch bay that would soon send humanity's greatest achievement into the stars. The Quantum Dawn's hull seemed to shimmer, its surface reflecting light in ways that shouldn't be possible. "Admiral," Sarah called out, There's something else you should know. She pulled up a detailed analysis on the main screen. These dimensional disturbances we're detecting. They're getting worse. The Council Race's methods aren't just inefficient. They're dangerous. At the current rate of deterioration, we estimate major dimensional fractures will begin appearing within months. Admiral Martinez studied the data grimly. Can we prevent it? Yes. Sarah nodded, but only with our technology. The Council's approach to dimensional physics can't solve a problem it created. They need our help, whether they know it or not. In orbit, the Council observation post recorded another routine day of human activities. Below in the hidden facility, humanity prepared to reveal not just their advancement, but perhaps their role as saviors of the galaxy itself. The quantum dawn waited silently in its berth, its quantum core pulsing with the knowledge of 7 dimensions. Soon, it would rise from Earth's surface, visible to all, and the galaxy would learn that sometimes the greatest breakthroughs come from those they least expect. And in the darkness between dimensions, the cracks in reality continued to spread, counting down to a crisis that only humanity's primitive understanding could prevent. The precipice. The emergency meeting of the Galactic Council erupted into chaos as the holographic displays showed another dimensional fracture tearing through the Centauri sector. Ships from a dozen advanced civilizations hung helplessly in space, their vaunted dimensional drives useless in the face of reality's growing instability. The Proxima colony is reporting total dimensional drive failure, announced first speaker Thax, their crystalline form vibrating with distress. 3 million citizens are trapped with no way to evacuate. In the secured command center beneath the Atacama Desert, Dr. Sarah Chen watched the crisis unfold through humanity's quantum sensors. The dimensional distortions were cascading faster than even their worst projections had predicted. "Admiral," she called out to Martinez, who stood studying the tactical displays, "we're out of time. The Council's dimensional drives are creating a feedback loop. Each attempt to rescue those ships is making the fractures worse." The Admiral's face was grim. "How long?" "Hours, maybe less," Sarah replied, her fingers dancing across the holographic controls as she brought up detailed analyses. "The dimensional boundary collapse will reach Earth within 12 hours. We need to act now." Around them, the facility hummed with controlled urgency as crews prepared the quantum dawn for immediate launch. The revelation they had carefully planned for the Council's annual review would now happen under the pressure of an unprecedented crisis. "Dr. Chen," Marcus called from his station, "Quantum core is at full power. All 7-dimensional matrices are stable and synchronized." Sarah turned to Admiral Martinez. "We're ready, but you should know, once we reveal this technology, everything changes. The balance of power in the galaxy, humanity's position, our relationship with the Council races, none of it will ever be the same." "Better a changed galaxy than no galaxy at all," Martinez replied. She activated the facility's secure communication system. "This is Admiral Martinez. Operation Revelation is now active. All personnel to emergency stations." Above ground, the Council's observation post suddenly detected massive energy readings from the desert below. Before their sensors could analyze the signature, the ground itself seemed to ripple as massive doors opened in what they had always thought was bare desert. The quantum dawn rose from its underground berth, its hull gleaming with impossible colors as its quantum core engaged. To the Council observers' astonishment, their most sophisticated sensors couldn't even begin to categorize the technology they were detecting. In the ship's command center, Sarah took her position at the dimensional control interface. All systems nominal. 7-dimensional full drive engaging. The space around the quantum dawn began to twist, not with the brutal force of conventional dimensional drives, but with an elegant precision that seemed to make reality itself sigh in relief. In orbit, the Council observers watched in stunned silence as the ship disappeared in a way that defied every known law of physics. Moments later, the quantum dawn emerged in the Centauri sector, directly adjacent to the trapped ships and colonies. The dimensional fractures that had stymied the most advanced rescue attempts seemed to calm in the ship's presence, like waves settling in the lee of a breakwater. This is Dr. Sarah Chen of the Earth vessel Quantum Dawn to all Council ships and the Proxima colony. Sarah broadcast on all frequencies. We're detecting critical dimensional instability in your drives. Power them down immediately. We'll handle the evacuations. There was a moment of stunned silence before the responses began pouring in. The Council races, faced with the immediate survival of millions of their citizens, had no choice but to comply with instructions from the supposedly primitive humans. The Quantum Dawn moved with impossible grace through the fractured space. Its quantum fields extended, creating stable corridors through which the stranded ships could be safely towed. Hour by hour, the evacuation proceeded, with each successful rescue forcing the Council races to confront the gap between their assumptions about humanity and the reality before them. Message from the Council chamber, Marcus announced. First Speaker Cathax is demanding an explanation for our deception and the immediate sharing of our technology. Admiral Martinez smiled grimly. Tell them we'll be happy to discuss technology sharing as soon as all their citizens are safe, and remind them that their current dimensional drives are what caused this crisis in the first place. Sarah monitored the quantum readings as they worked. The dimensional fractures were still spreading, but more slowly now. Their models showed that once the damaged drives were fully powered down, the natural resilience of spacetime would begin to assert itself. Dr. Chen called one of her junior engineers. We're detecting unusual quantum resonance patterns in the fracture zones. I think we can do more than just evacuate. We might be able to repair the damage. Sarah studied the data and felt a familiar surge of excitement. Once again, humanity's unique approach to dimensional physics was revealing possibilities that the Council races had never imagined. As the Quantum Dawn continued its rescue operation, Sarah began formulating the equations that might not just save the stranded citizens, but heal the very fabric of space-time itself. The galaxy was about to learn that humanity's greatest strength wasn't in their technology, but in their ability to see solutions where others saw only problems. The crisis wasn't over. In many ways, it was just beginning. But as Sarah watched her crew work seamlessly to save those who had looked down on them for so long, she knew that humanity had already won something more valuable than technological superiority. They had won the right to be heard. Dimensions of truth. The Grand Chamber of the Galactic Council had never been so silent. Representatives from thousands of civilizations watched in stunned silence as Dr. Sarah Chen's hologram demonstrated the fundamental flaws in their understanding of dimensional physics. Your method of dimensional travel, she explained, her quantum simulations floating in the air for all to see, is like trying to break through a wall with a sledgehammer. Our approach is more like finding the door that was there all along. The Quantum Dawn hung in space outside the Council station, its mere presence challenging centuries of established scientific doctrine. Teams of the galaxy's most brilliant scientists had spent the last 48 hours scanning the vessel, and each new reading only deepened their confusion and amazement. Impossible, muttered high theorist Zix of the Arcturus Collective, all 7 of their brain clusters pulsing with agitation. The energy requirements alone for 7-dimensional manipulation would be astronomical using conventional methods, Sarah interrupted smoothly. But that's because you're trying to force reality to bend to your will. We learn to work with it instead. Admiral Martinez stood beside Sarah's hologram, watching the Council races struggle with their new reality. The rescue operation in the Centauri sector had been completed hours ago, but the dimensional fractures remained a pressing concern. Dr. Chen, First Speaker Cathax's voice carried their species' characteristic crystalline resonance. You claim your technology can repair the dimensional damage our drives have caused. Explain. Sarah gestured, and new holographic models appeared. The universe naturally maintains dimensional stability through quantum resonance patterns we call dimensional harmonics. Your drives create discordant patterns that have been accumulating for centuries. We've developed a way to reinforce the natural harmonics and help reality heal itself. In the observation deck of the Quantum Dawn, Dr. Marcus Wong coordinated with their growing fleet of vessels. After the initial rescue, Earth had revealed the existence of 12 more ships, each incorporating refinements to the original design. They were already positioned near the worst fracture zones, ready to begin the healing process. The repair procedure will take approximately 72 hours, Sarah continued. During that time, all conventional dimensional drives must remain powered down to prevent further damage. We will provide emergency transport for critical operations. The council chamber erupted in protests. You expect us to ground our entire civilization, demanded the representative from the Sirius hegemony. To trust our transportation needs to a species we ranked as barely space-capable mere days ago. Admiral Martinez stepped forward. You trusted us enough to save your stranded citizens. Now we're asking you to trust us to save reality itself. A hush fell over the chamber as the implications sank in. The most advanced civilizations in the galaxy were being asked to admit not only that their technology was flawed, but that their very understanding of the universe was incomplete. In the Quantum Dawn's engine room, Dr. Yuki Tanaka made final adjustments to the quantum harmonics array. The technology that would heal the dimensional fractures was, ironically, an offshoot of their original research. They had discovered it while trying to understand why the Council race's approach to dimensional travel was so inefficient. All ships report ready, Marcus announced over the command channel. Quantum matrices are synchronized and stable. Sarah turned back to the Council. We're preparing to begin the repair procedure. You'll be able to monitor our progress. But I warn you, what you're about to see may challenge everything you think you know about dimensional physics. The Quantum Dawn's quantum core began to pulse with those now familiar impossible colors. Around the ship, reality itself seemed to sing as the harmonics array activated. In the council chamber, the most sophisticated sensors ever created recorded something that should have been impossible: the universe healing itself. Multiple fracture zones showing signs of dimensional reintegration, reported one of Sarah's technicians. The harmonic resonance is cascading exactly as predicted. The council races watched in amazement as their sensors confirmed what they were seeing. The dimensional damage that their best minds had declared irreparable was being undone by technology they hadn't even known was possible. There will need to be changes, Admiral Martinez addressed the council. Your current dimensional drive technology cannot be allowed to create this kind of damage again. Earth is prepared to share our understanding of dimensional harmonics and help develop safer methods of interstellar travel. First speaker Kathax's crystalline form shimmered with what might have been resignation or perhaps acceptance. And what do you want in return for this? Assistance. Sarah smiled. What we've always wanted, to be treated as equals, to contribute to the advancement of all species, to help build a galaxy where innovation isn't limited by preconceptions or prejudice. As the Quantum Dawn continued its work, the council races began to understand that they were witnessing more than just a technological revolution. They were seeing the emergence of a new power in the galaxy, not one that dominated through force or arrogance, but one that led through understanding and cooperation. The universe itself seemed to approve as the dimensional harmonics spread through space, bringing stability to regions that had been slowly tearing themselves apart for centuries. It was a new era for the galaxy, and humanity, against all expectations, was leading the way. Beyond the veil, 1 year after the dimensional crisis, Earth had become the center of a scientific revolution that was transforming the galaxy. The massive quantum research facility beneath the Atacama Desert had evolved into the Galactic Institute of Dimensional Sciences, where beings from thousands of worlds came to learn humanity's harmonious approach to dimensional physics. Dr. Sarah Chen stood at the observation window of the Quantum Dawn, watching as reality rippled with healthy quantum resonance patterns. The dimensional repair operation had been completed months ago, but the effects of their work continued to spread through spacetime, strengthening the natural fabric of the universe. Final report from the Andromeda monitoring station, Marcus announced, looking up from his console. The harmonic cascade has stabilized the last major fracture zone. The galaxy's dimensional integrity is now stronger than our earliest historical records. Sarah nodded, feeling a deep satisfaction. The past year had been challenging, filled with diplomatic negotiations, technological exchanges, and the massive task of helping advanced civilizations unlearn centuries of flawed practices. But the results were undeniable. In the Institute's main auditorium, Admiral Martinez addressed a gathering of representatives from former council races. The hierarchy that had dominated galactic politics for millennia had given way to a more collaborative approach, with Earth playing a central role not through force or dominance, but through innovation and understanding. The transition to harmonic drive systems is now 80% complete, she reported. Every ship converted represents another step toward a safer, more stable galaxy. Dr. Yuki Tanaka, now heading the Institute's Practical Applications Division, had developed a method to retrofit existing ships with quantum harmonic technology. It was more than just a technological upgrade. It represented a fundamental shift in how spacefaring civilizations interacted with the fabric of reality. "We've detected something interesting in the quantum harmonics," Sarah told her assembled team aboard the Quantum Dawn. "The natural resonance patterns we've been reinforcing, they're not just maintaining dimensional stability. They're showing us something more." She brought up a complex holographic display showing multidimensional quantum flows. These patterns suggest the existence of naturally occurring dimensional corridors, spaces where reality itself creates pathways between distant points. "We've been so focused on forcing our way through spacetime that we never noticed they were there." The implications were staggering. These natural corridors could revolutionize travel and communication across the galaxy, but only if approached with the same respect for natural laws that had characterized humanity's breakthrough. In the council chamber, now transformed into the Galactic Coordination Center, first speaker Cathax made a historic announcement. The former council races unanimously vote to adopt Earth's dimensional harmonics protocols as the new standard for galactic travel and communication. The decision marked more than just a technological transition. It was an acknowledgement that progress didn't always mean pushing harder against the universe's limits. Sometimes it meant stepping back, observing, and finding ways to work in concert with the fundamental nature of reality. The Quantum Dawn's quantum core hummed softly as Sarah and her team prepared for their next mission. They had detected unusual harmonic patterns at the galaxy's edge, suggesting the presence of a vast network of natural dimensional corridors extending into intergalactic space. "It's funny," Marcus remarked as they reviewed the data. "All those years they spent laughing at us, calling us primitive. They never realized that their advanced approach was the primitive one." Sarah smiled, remembering the day in the council chamber when humanity had first revealed their true capabilities. "The universe rewards those who take the time to understand it," she said. "We just had the advantage of starting fresh, without preconceptions about what was impossible." As the Quantum Dawn prepared to depart, Sarah looked out at the transformed galaxy. Ships now moved through spacetime with grace rather than force, their quantum harmonic drives working in concert with the universe's natural rhythms. The dimensional fractures that had threatened reality itself were healing, leaving the fabric of spacetime stronger than ever. From the ship's command center, Admiral Martinez watched the final preparations. "Ready to see what other secrets the universe has been waiting to show us?" she asked. Sarah nodded, her fingers moving across the quantum interface. The Quantum Dawn's harmonics array engaged, and reality seemed to sing around them as they prepared to explore the natural dimensional corridors that no one had thought to look for before. The galaxy had changed, but perhaps that had always been inevitable. In seeking to understand rather than dominate, in choosing harmony over force, humanity had not just solved a crisis. They had opened the door to a new age of discovery and cooperation. As the Quantum Dawn slipped gracefully into a dimensional corridor, Sarah thought about how far they had come. The galaxy's laughter had long since faded, replaced by a newfound respect and understanding. But more importantly, they had proved that true advancement didn't come from dominating nature, but from learning to dance with it. The universe, it seemed, had just been waiting for someone willing to listen to its song.